It all began about a year ago, after my ex-wife and I finalized our divorce. The end of our marriage wasn't the clean cut it might have seemed on paper. My wife, Sarah, had been having an emotional affair with a colleague, and it wasn't until the affair was exposed that we decided to part ways. Despite the pain, I wanted to keep things civil for the sake of our daughter, Chloe. She was only 14, and I hoped that, somehow, we could maintain some semblance of a family connection. For the first few months, Chloe sided with Sarah, and I didn't blame her. Kids often gravitate towards the parent who seems more stable during tough times. But my relationship with Chloe slowly deteriorated, and it wasn't because of Sarah's affair alone. Chloe started growing cold, almost indifferent, towards me. I gave her gifts, tried to keep the peace, and didn't place any blame on Sarah, even though I was hurting. But the emotional wall between us kept growing higher. Then one evening, Chloe came to me with words that felt like a dagger through my chest. She told me, with an unsettling sense of certainty, that she preferred her stepfather, Robert, over me. Not only that, but she claimed Robert was the man Sarah deserved as her husband, and the man she deserved as her father. Those words rang in my ears for days. It wasn't just the rejection that stung, it was the complete abandonment of everything we had been. The relationship we once shared, the late-night talks, the laughter, the bonding moments, felt like a distant memory. That night, I broke down completely, and the next few days were a blur. I didn't go to work. I couldn't. After some time to think, I made a decision that in retrospect changed everything. I emotionally and financially distanced myself from Chloe. I stopped trying to be the dad I once was. From that moment on, I only fulfilled the bare minimum of my legal and financial obligations as her father. I would not chase after her. I would not beg for affection. My sister, Evelyn, was my only support. She had been through her own trauma years earlier when her ex-husband had cheated on her. Although she didn't have kids, that betrayal shattered her, and she too vowed to never trust anyone the same way again. Through her, I found the strength to make the hard choices. I began making changes in my finances, 2 changes that seemed like a small form of self-preservation. Chloe had been the primary beneficiary on my life insurance and retirement accounts, but now those benefits were redirected to Evelyn. I started withdrawing from the college funds I had saved for Chloe over the years, a savings meant to ensure she had opportunities one never had. Instead, I used the money to take Evelyn on a 2-week trip to Europe. It wasn't about the trip. It was about finding some semblance of joy and escape from the emptiness I felt. As the months passed, Evelyn and I grew closer, while my bond with Chloe continued to fray. My sister gave me gifts, thoughtful and expensive, far more than Sarah ever had. It was as if Evelyn was stepping into the role of the family protector, the one who truly had my back. I began to feel some semblance of happiness again, but I knew I was only numbing the pain. Then Chloe found out. She had come over to my house one evening, a visit that I had been dreading. She'd been snooping around my office looking for something when she stumbled across the paperwork. It didn't take long for her to see that her name was no longer the primary beneficiary on my accounts. She saw the withdrawals from the college fund too. That night, she confronted me. Her face was a mixture of confusion, anger, and betrayal. "Why?" she demanded, her voice shaking. "Why is Aunt Evelyn listed as the beneficiary? You were supposed to save that money for me. For my future." Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. Guilt washed over me, but I couldn't ignore the months of coldness she had shown me. "Chloe, you made it clear that you wanted Robert in my place," I replied calmly, though my heart ached. "You said he was the father you deserved. And for months, I watched you turn away from me. I can't keep pretending that nothing's wrong." Her anger flared. "You're abandoning me. You're ruining my future." I felt a pang of sorrow, but I had to stay firm. "No, Chloe. You abandoned me first. You made your choice when you sided with your mom. You told me that Robert was the man you wanted. I can't keep pouring myself into a relationship where I'm not wanted." She didn't say anything for a long moment, and then, in a fit of rage, she stormed out of my house, slamming the door behind her. I didn't know where she went, but I knew that she needed time to process everything. As I sat there, my emotions were torn. Part of me wanted to chase after her, to apologize, to beg for forgiveness. But the other part of me, the part that was so tired of being emotionally bruised, knew I couldn't. A few days later, Sarah called. Her voice was filled with fury. "You're destroying your relationship with Chloe," she accused. "She's devastated. Do you even care?" "I want a relationship with her, Sarah," I said quietly. "But I want one where I am respected. And I'm not getting that from her. Not anymore." Sarah didn't respond, and she hung up before I could say anything else. The weight of it all pressed heavily on me. My daughter, the one person I had tried so hard to protect, had turned her back on me. And while I hoped that, in time, she would understand the reasons behind my choices, I knew that we were at a crossroads. After she turned 18, I had no intentions of being involved in her life anymore. I had given everything I could, and now it was time to move on. I only hoped that someday Chloe would realize that I had made these decisions not out of spite, but out of necessity, for both my own well-being and hers.